Hello, everyone, and welcome to another post-game interview for Can You Survive Charity Event 2021. I am here with the fourth and fifth place finishers of this year's event, Angela and Waylon, originally two members of the Terrible Pink Tribe, as you heard last night, and they managed to make it all the way to fourth and fifth place. So thank you for being here. I know a lot of people are excited to hear about your journeys this season. So why don't we start with the same question I've asked, I don't know if I've asked to everybody, but a lot of other people. What made you want to apply in the first place? So Waylon, I know yours is a little bit easier of a story, so we'll go yours first, and then Angela will go you second.
What made me want to apply? I heard about it. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do it. I knew that there would be a trek involved. I don't know. It's tough to schedule it out, but the uniqueness, the format, it's a once in a lifetime experience. I mean, you got the Survivor experience in all aspects, the outdoors, gameplay, challenges, everything. And to know that, this could possibly be the closest thing I experienced to Survivor, I couldn't pass it down after some self-encouragement. So I applied, and that was it.
You drove the furthest too. Like, it was insane that you ended up sticking with the plan of driving and not changing your mind at the last minute to fly, which is what a couple of other people did. So kudos to you for driving that far. So Angela, what made you apply in the first place?
Well, you said it was a long story. I'll sum it up. A friend tagged me when there was first a Facebook post asking for hey, do any of my lady friends feel like starting this new adventure? And I had actually messaged Brandon, asked him a couple of quick questions. I was super interested, and then I completely bailed. I totally chickened out. I was just like, oh, I can't do it. I'm ridiculously out of shape. I'll embarrass myself. I'll embarrass my family. So I just, pushed it out of my mind. My husband had asked me about it a couple of times, and I was like, yeah, I just don't think I'm going to. And then you messaged me, and I think you had some females drop out, and you were just like, why don't we just interview? You don't have to do it. We'll just talk and see how it is. And I did my interview with you, and I was like, shaking when I was done. I was so amped up. I got wicked excited. And I was like, yeah, I'm doing it. I just have to do it. So that's my story.
Awesome. And then who knew at that point that you would become Stangela by the end of
it? I don't know where that came from. Damn,
Alex. So I mean, we'll get to this, but you two were first and second in fan favorite. So you were two of the most popular players in the merge, at least. So going into the game, what was your pregame strategy? Obviously, it changed a lot as the game went because of how bad your tribe was. But going in, what was your idea of what you wanted to do? Waylon, go ahead.
Well, I think just because I knew that this would, you're constantly around people, and so you have to stick to what you're trying to play the entire time. I think I wanted to make everybody laugh, and I wanted to be everyone's side piece. I wanted to be everyone's dirty little secret. I wanted to be I didn't want to be in the, I wanted to be everybody's secret relationship, but I didn't want to institute it. So I was just trying to be friendly with people and be like, yeah, we're cool. Hey, yeah. And so just play it slow, play the long game. I did not want to be the first one to play or be caught playing the game. And so just think ahead. I don't know.
So, okay. So follow-up question. A lot of people did say during the game, I'm secretly really close to Waylon and no one knows about it. Specifically, Katie. Katie was all in on this secret alliance with Waylon. And Alex said last night that he made an alliance with you, or you made a final two with him or something. So how many people did you actually have secret final twos with?
The only time I ever said final two to anybody was Alex.
Okay.
but I think their unspoken final twos were there throughout the game. Namely, I don't think Angela and I ever said, "Hey, we're final two with each other."
We didn't.
You know,
We never
we just
said that.
no. But I was pretty close to Logan at first. I thought I had Patrick in a decent position until a little bit some stuff developed. I liked Crystal a lot. I liked Becca a lot. Katie and I were close. And Logan and I think Logan and I had a good relationship as well as Angela and I. I think Angela and I were just on the same wavelength.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And obviously we'll get to that as we talk more. But Angela, what was your strategy going into the game?
My strategy was exactly what Waylon's was. Exactly. I just wanted to be friendly to everybody. I think I'm fairly social anyway, so that part I thought was going to be pretty easy for me. And I wanted to try to relate to people, you know, where they came from, if they were a parent, if they were from another country. Like, I really wanted to try to like build those really tiny connections that would be like a really quick bond with people. And other than that, I kind of wanted to fly under the radar, which I think I ended up doing okay with, despite the fact there was a giant bullseye on me, like right out of the gate. So that first day, I just panicked. I was like, well, I'm the first one out, so this sucks.
Now, well, obviously you couldn't be the first one out, as Kirk just mentioned. You had
Right.
that initial round one safety, or the first time you went to tribal. So I know your plan going in was you wanted to raise the most money, like that.
I did.
Yeah,
I did.
and it wasn't even close. Like no one on your tribe even came close
Really?
to you. Oh yeah, you were far above everyone.
Oh,
And
yay.
it wasn't until like 2 weeks before that Chris passed you as raising the most out of everyone in the game.
Oh,
So you were in the lead for the majority of like the 3 months leading up to it.
awesome.
Now, did you feel like you had a lot of pressure once you found out you raised the most? Did you have a lot of pressure not only on choosing people for that first challenge, but once you lost, did you carry any weight on like, ooh, I chose the wrong people?
To be honest with you, I think I got very overwhelmed when we first broke up into our initial groups. We actually, I can't remember who asked. It was either me or Becca. Somebody asked, what is everybody good at? Are people good at puzzles? Are people good at running? So when I had to pick people, I actually felt okay because we had kind of talked about it as a group. So I felt okay with that decision. When we lost, I think everybody was just really panicked. I did have a little bit of security just because I knew no matter what happened, I wouldn't be the first one out. And I knew that there were more challenges to come. So I don't think I really panicked too much.
Okay. Now there were more challenges to come that day, but clearly you lost all of them. So I asked this last night, but what did you two contribute to the morale staying high at camp? Because I know that even though you lost a lot, your tribe still was upbeat the entire first day. So how did you two contribute to that morality?
I think we looked on the brighter side of things. Like when we lost the challenge where we got food, we were going to choose oranges and apples anyway. So we're like, we had fun. It's fine. But I think we looked for the brighter side, or we just tried to almost distract ourselves in between. Like we were in game mode while we were playing the competitions, but then afterwards we're like, okay, we're all friends again. It's fine. It's, it happens. They got us this time, but wait till next time.
Still gonna lose.
Now that first night at Pink, Waylon, I guess going back, you found the idol clue during that challenge, and apparently you were trying to like mime and like found the idol clue, and you were like, because everyone probably saw you find it, so you had to kind of yeah. So why did you tell everyone about the idol clue when you got back to camp?
Well, if I would have found that idol clue and no one else saw, I would not have told anybody. I just wouldn't. I found I was so in the competition. I was running back and I was unwrapping the thing, and a piece of paper, I set it on the desk. I was like, oh, that's an idol clue. I literally said, well, there you go, guys. And
That's literally what happened.
I don't know who else was at the table. I think Chris was there. I think Becca was there too. But I was just more focused on like going back to get the answers, and I left it on the table. And I was like, that was an idle clue. But those people saw it, and I wasn't about to like stuff in my pocket or try to raise suspicion my way. Yeah. When I went back to the table, as I'm unwrapping the next one, I said, okay, well, I'm going to put this in my pocket so the other tribes don't see it, and we'll talk about it later. And so when I went back, I didn't know at that point we weren't playing games. So I didn't know if I could like pull those people aside that saw me and be like, okay, guys, we can keep this between us, because I didn't know how their connections were with other people. And then if it just got out that I had no clue, inevitably suspicion was going to arise that I had an idol. And so I was like, my goal is I don't want an idol at this point. Don't want it because it's too early. People think I have an idol. It's just, Target City. So I was like, I'll just read it to everybody at camp, everyone, and pass it around. And my goal from that point was, okay, maybe because I've done this courtesy for everybody, I doubt we're not going to find it as a tribe, which we kind of sort of did, but I didn't think that was the case. My goal was whoever does find it, they'll tell me, and I'll at least know where it is. I didn't want it at that point, but I was just trying to gain trust for people. I really was. And so I thought maybe it would see that I was a genuine guy, that I was like, okay, guys, we're a team. Let's do this together. But yeah.
Okay. Now, Angela, when Waylon sent the idol clue at camp in front of everyone, what was going through your head? Like, ooh, game on? Or was it like the three last night who were just like, well, whatever?
It kind of was for me. I think the funny thing about the Pink tribe specifically is I think everybody came in with a very different history. I had never played anything like this before. I didn't even know that online games were a thing. That was like my mind blew when I found that out. So many people had like played online before, and this was a whole new world for me. And it didn't really start for me, in all honesty, until I had to pick somebody to go to exile. And that's when all of a sudden my brain just shifted. So even when Waylon pulled out we like kicked some rocks around our camp and we're like, it's not here. Like, it was a F for effort. Nobody really tried, but I think we were still trying to kind of feel each other out. And we lost back to back to back. So while these other tribes were kind of like bonding over different things, we were like trying so hard to be like, it's okay, you didn't suck that bad that challenge. And that's all we had. That's all we were doing. So I don't think anybody really took the initiative to be sneaky.
Okay. Now that first night, we heard last night that there was an attempt at an alliance forming of 5, but then Angela, you mentioned in the comments, were you in it? Were you not in it? You were? Okay.
I was, but I didn't speak to other people in that 5-person alliance. So, really early on, Katie, we were setting up our tarp, and Katie looked at me and she said, I want to work with you. And my heart went, yay, she picked me. She picked other people also. But that was like, oh, okay, this is a game. This is what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to do the things. And then later on, she was like, yeah, it's going to be me, you, Becca, Patrick, and Alex. Great. That sounded lovely. Alex and Katie, I bonded with really, really quick. Our personalities were all like really bubbly and upbeat. I really liked Waylon, and I really liked Logan also, which I said in my first confessional. I did want to work with them. And Crystal was awesome. She was a sweet girl. She had a great story. But I never really talked with Patrick at all. I liked him. I knew that he was smart. I knew he knew the game really well, but we never spoke. We didn't have like individual chats. So I was part of an alliance and I didn't really feel super great with everybody, but that alliance lasted a hot minute.
Right. It lasted 5 seconds. So Waylon, going into the first night, where do you feel like you stood? Did you know that there was a 5-person alliance that you were on the outs of?
I suspected when they went all together, I was like, they're probably gonna talk. Like, and the guys back at camp, we were just like hey, we're just gonna build a shelter. We're not gonna talk. No one wanted to. I think Logan and I, at one point, that was the first thing, and we were just like, hey, we cool? And he's like, yeah. And so I was like, okay, at least maybe I have Logan. But I didn't want to be in any big alliance because I don't operate well in big groups. I like to be on the outside, but like on the inside of the outside. And so I was content with where I was because I felt like I had given enough. Like I was sociable. I felt like I tried to portray myself as someone who people would want to work with, someone people didn't deem dangerous. And I was like, I'll be picked up when the time comes tomorrow. Now, if I figured, okay, that might last for the first couple votes. I didn't know how much further that would get me, but it was one step at a time. So the night one, sleeping outside was terrible. I mean, terrible. Didn't sleep a wink. We were gravel driveway. The sleeping bag, literally, bugs are on my face. Don't touch my face, bugs. I don't consent. But like it was like I'd hide in my sleeping bag and then I'd nod off and then I'd like wake back up and I'd suffocating and I was like, oh, and I was like, how are people doing this? I was like, I might quit. I was like
sleeping right across from him, and all night long I could just hear him like pulling things off and pulling them over and pulling them off.
I can't do this. I'm not meant for it. But by night 3, the ground felt like a memory foam mattress. Yes, it was just soft. And I was like, okay, this is fine. But it was just, night 1 was just not fun.
As we saw in one of the best pictures of the event, when your entire tribe was like posing around you sleeping.
I got off for 20 minutes. 20 minutes. Meanwhile, during that 20 minutes, it's very eventful. They came back and told me that Katie and Alan were married and that Katie went home. And I was like y'all playing. Like, no, I woke up and they're all telling me this, like, you guys, nah, you're pulling one on me, nah. And they're like, no, they're married. I was like, it took me a while to be like, oh, okay, I guess that makes sense. It was terrible. It was terrible. One time, 20 minutes, and they got a photo and everything in there too.
Oh yeah, 2 photos. So Angela, you already mentioned it. You had to exile someone that first night. In your first confessional, you were literally saying you wanted to work with Logan, but he was a little quiet. But you exiled Logan anyway.
I did.
So why did you choose Logan?
It was actually really easy, and to me, it made a lot of sense. So we had actually talked about a couple of hours before if there was an exile island. We kind of put pieces together from some clues that were kind of circulating. So we had all talked about it. All the girls were like, no, I'd die. I felt like I would be okay. I grew up in Maine. This looks like my backyard. Like I could probably be okay. I think Patrick was like, I think I'd want to go home if I got sent to exile. So really that literally left Waylon and Logan. And I wanted to work with both of them. You just said, who do you want to work with? I said, Logan and Waylon. And you said, okay, exile somebody. And I was like, well, I can't pick Logan. I just said I wanted to work with him and Waylon. But Logan was from Old Town. He was local. He was quiet. He was a little bit separate from the rest of our group, where Waylon is like a natural social butterfly. Everybody just adored him. And I knew that people had some reservations about Logan. So I was like, if I send him to exile and he gets some kind of advantage, and he might be mad at me for a minute, but I can maybe wheel him in my direction a little bit. And I figured I would be able to explain it. Like, hey, we didn't get a chance to talk. I really want to work with you. That's why I chose you, blah, blah, blah. It didn't work out like that.
Okay, so my follow-up question was, you wanted to work with him. You sent him to exile. Did that ruin the possible relationship moving forward in the game?
So when I sent him, I had the choice to be truthful with my tribe or say, I don't know why he left. But my tribe was very emotional. We had some conversations. And I just knew that the emotions would come into play. So when I came back to the tribe, I was like, I had to send him, and I was all upset. And I I wasn't really upset that I sent him, but I was upset because I knew that put me in a really bad spot. I raised the most amount of money and I just had to send somebody from my tribe to exile. And I didn't know what that meant for the other people or for Logan. So Logan came back the next morning and everybody's being really nice to me. And like Becca's rubbing my back and she's like, I know this is going to be really hard for you. And so we all went to the bathroom, and on the way back, I was like, Logan, can I talk to you for a second? And then I explained to him why I chose him, that I did want to work with him. You know, he had a story about himself that I identified with a lot. And I just explained very, very honestly. And he said nothing, nothing, nothing. And
Yikes.
in that moment, walking back, he said, I know, I figured it was you. That's the only thing he said to me. And in that moment, I said, he's got to go. He has to go. He's coming after me. I know he is. He gave me not one word. And that's when I started playing. That's when I started getting really close to the people that I was close to. That's when I knew that I needed him gone. And I was watching who he was talking to because it was either going to be him or me.
Okay.
And he confirmed that.
So going in to day 2. So Waylon, you had just you had told everyone about your idol that previous day.
Mhm.
You decided not to be the caller position for the first challenge. Everyone knew the idol clue.
Mhm.
Did you assume Alex found the idol?
I immediately went to him afterwards. He kind of volunteered to be in that position. I think they waited a little bit, or everybody kind of waited to see who was going to step up, and Alex was eager, and I was all for it because I did like Alex. I thought I was pretty close with Alex. Alex is hilarious, and when he decided to go, I was like, okay, that's fine. If that's if that's great, because even if he says he doesn't have an idol, it's going to be on his plate that he's going to suspect. Right. Like people are going to suspect that he has an idol, as just like they suspected Logan had an idol from exile. And so afterwards, I did go over, and he's like, okay, guys, I did find the idol. He told Patrick and I. I don't know if he wanted to tell me or not. I watched last night's video.
Yeah, I think
thought
he confirmed last night.
Nice,
yeah.
He but maybe I just walked into the right opportunity. I think I would have found out eventually. But I think when he did tell me that, it did make me feel closer to him, just because he did tell Patrick and I first. And I figured everybody else would kind of suspect it or catch on. But that's what I wanted in that situation, just to know where it was. And, it's not a bad thing to have the guy who has an idol on your side, especially when you don't have the idol and everybody knows that he has it. So.
Now, Angela, Alex said last night that you were one of the last people to find out.
I was.
How did it feel first hearing that? Did you find that out last night when he was talking, that you were one of the last ones to find out?
No, I knew. Okay. I knew because everybody else's reactions weren't mine. So, and I don't know. It didn't really, I don't think I took into account what that meant at that time. Again, at that moment, I felt really strong when I found out about it, which was much later. I felt really strong with Waylon. I did feel strong with Katie. So I was like, oh, maybe Alex and I were as close as I thought.
Okay. So we're going to skip through that first tribal. Crystal went home. It was a unanimous vote. Now we're skipping the challenge. You guys won. Yay, you won a challenge. We talked about it last night. So that second tribal that you attended, I
can't wait to talk about this.
Yeah, it was crazy. So we heard from Patrick's point of view, we heard everything that was going through his head during the deliberation of the second tribal. Angela, I feel like I heard your name came up as an option.
It was me.
It was you.
It was. So this is my story.
Okay, go ahead.
This is where Waylon and I started. So we start the speed dating thing that for some reason Pink Tribe thought was like a great idea. And so we speed date. Waylon is the first person I talk to. And he comes up to me and he looks me dead in the eye and he said, they're talking about you. I don't want you to leave, but I don't know what I'm going to do. I want you to know that your name is being tossed out there, and I would like for you to stay. But if everybody else is voting for you, I'm not jeopardizing my game. So I was crushed. I was like, this is awful. I can't go home now. Like this meant so much to me to be here. And I was like not ready. And, but I don't know how to say this, but I'm not good at putting myself in vulnerable positions. So it's easier sometimes for me to just bail than it is to kind of put myself in that really uncomfortable spot. But in that moment, I was just like, the hell with this. So I went on a tear. I mean, I talked to Katie like 5 times. I went to Becca. I was pleading, and everybody was like, I know, but Logan and Patrick are saying your name. And I was like, Patrick? I'm supposed to be in alliance with Patrick. Why is he throwing my name under the bus? Is it because I suck physically? Yeah, of course it is. But I was so mad. And then a lot of people were saying, well, Logan might have an idol, and we don't want that to happen. I was like, you guys, if Logan has an idol and he plays it, I'm going to go home anyway. So just do me a favor, try to flesh out an idol, vote for Logan. It's going to be fine. And then some people were like, no, we want to vote for Patrick. And I was like, oh, is this just what people are telling me? So I'm convinced it's me. I'm teary-eyed. I'm shaking. I am pleading with everybody that I possibly can, more trying to get it on Logan because I really did not trust him, despite the fact that Patrick was, I almost think, the one that was kind of voting for me harder. I went right up to Patrick and I was like, can you at least tell me why you chose me? And he was like, what? I didn't say your name. I was like, 4 people just told me that you want me out. Just tell me why. So anyway, so it was a rat race, and I had this sinking gut feeling. And we're walking to tribal, and Katie goes, so it's Patrick. And I was like, okay, Patrick. And I take 2 steps, and Alex turns around and he goes, it's Logan. And I was like, it's me. That's what that means. When 2 people you trust and like and just talk to give you 2 different names, it's you, girl. Like, I walked in and I was like, I looked at Katie and I go, it's me. And she goes, why would you say that? And I was like, because you just gave me a different name than Alex did. And I was devastated. And right before we sat down, she said, okay, it's Logan. I was like, no, okay, it's Logan. And I was so mad. I was just devastated. And I really wish that they showed this, because I voted for Logan, obviously. And I was like, I'll die a shock if it's not me. That's what I said. And I sat down. And then Cameron comes over and it's all dramatic. And I was like, this is going to suck. And the whole time the votes are being read, the whole time, and I really wish they got this, I was like this. Like, just looking at everybody.
I remember that.
I was like, I couldn't believe it. Like, I was floored. I was absolutely shocked. I don't know how that happened, but after that, I was like, whatever comes down Waylon's road, I'm saving his ass, because I don't know if I would have known if he didn't so bluntly tell me it was going to be me.
Okay, so Waylon, you're here. Go ahead, and why did you tell Angela that at the beginning of deliberating?
Well, I felt like Angela and I were on a good vibe together just from the start. And we had grown closer at that point, and I did not want Angela to go. I liked Logan, but I agreed there was some shadiness going on there with the idol. And Patrick was playing a little tough that round and a little hard. And I didn't think Angela was. And, when your name's brought up, sometimes you have to. And so I wanted to make sure to give Angela, fair warning. But it's so early in the game. And so, I didn't want to be like, Angela, I'm just going to with you. And I'll be on the opposite side of the votes and screw my entire game over, which I ended up being on the wrong side of the votes anyway, that round.
How ironic is that?
Terrible. I was trying to do this. This is what happens, okay? Hold on. With this whole speed dating thing, I think the first tribal, I was just like, listen, let's just all take turns. Like, let's just everybody talk to everybody so there's nothing. It makes it easier for everybody. And I'm like, yeah, that's sure. And I think it carried over further along in the game. Even after merge, people were taking turns with each other. I don't know how the other tribes handled that, or like, but I didn't want to leave.
They didn't, because they never had to vote anybody out.
You're right, true. But when we get, I knew the vote was on Logan from a general consensus. Everybody was kind of like, it was on Angela. Angela was brought up at first, but I wanted to tell her, but it's almost like the first person brought up is almost never the person to go home. And so I wanted, eventually it turned to Logan and I was talking to people too, because trying to fight for Angela as well. And I get to the last person I need to talk to, which is Logan. And we walk back and he's like, okay, let's do Patch, or like, no, let's do Angela. At that point, he says, yeah, let's do Angela. It's like, yeah, we can do Angela, yada, yada. I feel really tight with you. Yeah, trying to make him feel safe just in case he did have an idol. We go back and we're walking back to the challenge area. And Patrick's over there screaming to Becca, oh, we got all the votes for Logan. Everybody's on board for the Logan vote.
Oh, yeah.
I turned to Logan. I'm like, did you just hear that? We must be out of the loop or something. And then Logan's like, well, now we have to vote Patrick. I was like, yes, all right. Yeah, we have to vote Patrick now. And so I'm going around everybody. I'm like, guys, Patrick just absolutely just Logan knows it's on him. And so I'm going around like trying to change the votes to Patrick, because Patrick was playing a lot. And apparently when Alejandro told me afterwards, we're walking up to the voting booth, and he was talking to you, Brandon, and no one told me anything, because I was like, oh, I know, I was talking to you, and no one like gave me an eye twinkle or like no signal anything. And so I was just like, okay, the vote's on Patrick. Everybody was like, oh yeah. And Katie wanted Patrick out at that point. And so it was just like, I was like, okay, then that's what we'll have to do. We'll just have to take Logan out next time. And I thought if he had an idol, he would have played it anyways, because his name was being brought up and he heard Patrick say, everyone is on Logan, which included me. And I was just like, yeah, that sounds ridiculous. It was the most awkward thing in the entire game. It was terrible.
So Katie mentioned in her interview that she wanted Logan to play the idol. She wanted Logan to stay, and that her and Logan kind of formed something during that round.
Yes.
So did you know about Logan's idol? Like, confidently? No. Okay.
No.
So was that a legitimate thing? Like, you, Logan, and Katie actually made a group?
We did talk, because I think Katie and I were close at that point, and I was closer with Katie than I was Logan at that point. And I was like, we have to reassure Logan that he's okay. So what's more reassuring than one person telling you you're okay? It's when two people tell you you're okay and they tell it in front of each other. So it's like, okay, we can build like a trifecta here, a trio. And I thought Katie was being sincere, which she might have been at that point, to vote Patrick, and I was. And so if Logan would have stuck around, I felt like we would have gotten a lot closer as well. And I was already close with Angela. I think it would have put us in a better position. Not in a better position, but like, the chips fell where they did. Yeah. And Logan went home. I just walked away from that feeling like, well, crap. Because early on, mistakes can just define your whole game. And it's like, I would have voted with everybody else. It wasn't that I was trying to be sneaky or conniving or anything like that, or to put a target on me. But all of a sudden, now I'm the only one that voted differently because Logan voted. If they would have told me, oh, we're voting Logan, I would be like, okay, easy, we'll vote Logan. But it wasn't that case.
So, obviously, looking back and after hearing about Alex, Becca, and Patrick being a tight three last night, you probably would have tried harder to save Logan at that point. But did either of you know that those three were as tight as they said they were?
I knew Patrick and Becca were tight. I knew
Patrick and Becca were really tight. Even when because Patrick supposedly was saying my name and Becca's. And I don't know if that was like a cover, but even if it wasn't or was a cover, Becca would not vote for Patrick. And I was like, he's saying your name too. Why wouldn't you want to vote for him when it was between Patrick and Logan? And that told me a lot. I also knew that Alex and Katie were really, really, really close. I got that pretty quick. Just because the way that they interacted with each other and stuff like that. But I think I was still having a really hard time figuring out Waylon because he seemed to have really good connections with everybody. I also was really close with Becca. We had a lot of really good talks and stuff too. So I did feel really close with her, but there were a couple of moments where like she would come to me and be like, is there anybody in the 5 you were like not feeling 100%? And I was like, no, I'm okay with everybody. And then she came up to me again and was like, is there anybody like that's standing out that's maybe more boisterous about moves? And I was like, oh, you mean Katie? So I could tell there was like a little rift between Becca and Katie. And Katie was telling me the same thing just on her end. So at that point, it was like I think the divide was starting to happen a little bit more with relationships.
Okay.
I think Becca was the catalyst there because I knew Becca and Patrick were close, but I knew Becca and Alex were close. It was Alex and Patrick that I didn't know were close. I thought Becca was more.
I had no idea.
Right.
No idea.
Okay. So you lose again, and little do you know that those 3 are together, but somehow it ends up being a unanimous Patrick vote anyway. So what happens that round? Is it just a, he went crazy the round before, so yeah. What
Patrick comes up to me right afterwards. We lose the challenge. He's like, it's you. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, I'm not going to lie to you. You were on the outs. You wrote my name down. And I explained to him. I said, the only reason I wrote your name down is because you spoiled the plan to the person we were targeting. It was there, and I had to respond. I was honest with everybody with that. But he's like, nah, it's you. Everyone's on you. And I was like, oh, okay. And once again, it's like the first person to come up is usually not the person that stays. So I was like, I'm just going to stay quiet. I'm not going to panic. I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to let someone else say, that's a bad idea.
You looked so, I think I talked to Waylon right after Alex talked to you, and right after you talked to Patrick, and Waylon comes up to me and he's just like, it's me. I was like, no, buddy, it's not going to be you. And he was like, I'm sorry. Like, it's going to be me. And he just looked so sad. And I, again, looked him right in the eye. And I was like, I'm not letting you leave. Like, you saved my ass. I'm saving you. I'll do whatever it takes. I'm going to go talk to some people. Like, if I had lost Waylon, I would have been devastated.
No, and I knew when I talked to you then, I was like, okay, I'm okay. I was like, Patrick's going to say that. Yeah, I felt like, I was like, oh, well, does he have the people? Like, is he on board? Or like, what is he going to do? But then I went to Angela and she reassured me. And I knew at that point I was okay, unless I kind of shot myself in the foot at that point and scrambled. So I just let things play out, and poor Patrick. But
now, you were close with Katie, so did you know that like you would have Katie's vote?
I thought so. But I know Katie's. I knew Katie wouldn't sacrifice her game. She's not going to vote unless the numbers were there. And so, but I did think that Katie would absolutely be on board. And I told her, I was like, Patrick just told me it was me, which is fine. And Katie came up to me later and she's like, you're good. You are good. And then Alex eventually kind of did the same thing. And I think it took some convincing for Becca to turn on him. And I think looking back, I guess Alex, it took some convincing for him, probably from Katie.
Yeah.
But I knew that between Angela and Katie that they had my back in this situation. And I think it really let me I was just like, I'm just going to pretend like it's me so Patrick doesn't feel bad. Like, I'm not going to go out swinging fists or anything. I'll just walk in and be sad, mundane. I don't know.
Now, do you feel like that solidified you two and Katie being kind of like a core of this tribe?
It did for me.
I think so too, because at that point we had proven ourselves to each other more than once. The first vote was unanimous. The vote before, we all voted. I guess, well, I didn't, but like I made a mistake, and they kind of brought me back into the fold, and it showed me that okay, we were on different, we proved ourselves to each other on more than one occasion from different aspects of the game. And I think that that solidified that I was okay with these two lovely ladies.
Okay. So next round, you lose again. And Becca ends up leaving. Now, I know Becca and Katie were kind of at each other like full force at this point, but Waylon, you ended up getting Becca's vote once again. So why did it switch to you? What happened that round to make you somehow become the...
If I'm correct, and maybe Angela, you can shed some light on this because I'm not sure. I think I was just the decoy vote that vote. I think that everybody told Becca that it was me. And I look back and I can't remember if I said it or not, but I was okay with that because I would have been the obvious choice because I got votes last round.
Yeah.
Even Cam brought up at that tribal, hey, well, you got votes last, the pattern, if you get votes in the round before, you're probably going to go home or whatever. That's what it was trending towards. But so I figured that was coming. But at that point, I also was solid. I didn't think I was going home that game, that round. So,
okay. Now skipping to the last tribal you had to go to on this tribe. God, worst challenge of the entire event, as I've said multiple times. Waylon, I mean, you almost won.
Twice.
Times.
It was awful.
That was awful. It was awful.
Now I know all four. I mean, it was such a low point. Like, I feel like even the green and blue tribes were not miserable, but like after you lost that last time, everyone was just silent. It was uncomfortable. So what were your thoughts after you lost that last challenge?
Well, I think, at that point, I thought for a second there, I was like, it's going to be me at this point. I just think it's going to be me because I knew Alex and Katie were tight. I had Angela, but I thought maybe Katie and Angela were a little bit closer than Katie was with me, maybe. I thought that was going to be me. I mean, I remember going into that challenge, and when you were announcing the challenge, I think I shot you like a death glare, and you were almost like looking at me like, I'm so sorry.
We were so mad at you.
Literally, when I was explaining the challenge, I was like, "Fuck, please, Pink win, please win this challenge."
I was staring you down. Like, I was mad. I was upset at you, which is fine. I didn't think I was just like, really, Brandon.
Well,
really?
Can we also talk for a second that we had, I don't know, like maybe an hour before that challenge. Let's talk for just a second about what happened in that hour. We are deflated, right? We voted out all of our friends. I'm going to use bad language probably here because it was very emotional. They're coming in with their little immunity idols that they have fucking decorated in leaves, and they're going fishing with poles. And we're just like voting out all these great people that we've bonded with, and we've told stories and we've shared things, and we're dying on gravel. Like, we're not eating. I had an orange slice that day. And we go back, me, Waylon, Katie, and Alex, and we go back to camp and we just start making jokes, and we're dying laughing. We all have tears running down our face. We're happy. We're bouncing around. We're trying to pick each other up. We are having the best time of our lives because can't stay shitty forever. And then we go down, and we were totally expecting to get swapped in somewhere. We were like, maybe we can get some rice because we've been gnawing on this raw rice because we don't have a fire. We can't cook anything. We have no food. We're living with snakes on a driveway. Like, this sucks. And we walked down to that challenge, and it was a great challenge, and Waylon literally almost had it. But when we walked down there, I was like, we're done. I could hear Katie's spirit just break the minute we walked down there. And I was like, there is no way we're going to win anything because we were so devastated. We were so devastated. And then when we lost, Katie started crying. She walked off. Everybody looks like their puppies were shot. And I'm just like, it's okay, guys. It's all right. We were just so miserable. It was awful. So it was like a really good high because we were just trying so hard. And then we just all of us broke.
Yeah.
That was rough.
Really, when Katie walked away, it was all of us kind of looked at each other, and then we all went up to Katie to make sure she was okay. We were still close. Like, even in defeat, we were all worried about each other rather than what was at that point what was going to happen next. We had a moment of like reflection. You know, Katie walked away. We all went up to her just to see if she was okay. You know, but you know, it was just one of those things.
When it was funny because, like, I mean, not funny, but like,
it's probably funny for you.
No,
you're so
I feel like at this point, you know, I was rooting for your tribe at that point. Anyway, so after you guys lost the challenge, you three were standing there, what Waylon just said, and Katie went off crying. I literally thought they just told Katie she's being voted out and now she's crying. And that's what I was expecting was going to happen at the tribal council. And then obviously that wasn't even close to what happened. Now, going into that vote, I feel like you three were close anyway, and Alex was unfortunately the person left out. However, things were happening. Alex asked about it.
There was a lot happening.
Yeah.
I won't lie to you. I was debating voting for Waylon. Only because Waylon and I were very close, and I knew Alex and Katie were extremely close. So I was like, one of us is going to end up picking up the other one. Would it be better for me to go with Alex and Katie versus me and Waylon versus them? So I was like, if they can use me as a third, I'm going to go over there. And I felt kind of okay how it ended. Katie was super emotional. I didn't know why she was emotional. Supposedly, well, now I know because Alex was trying to vote for me and force a tie, and she was really torn about it. So for me, I was going to vote for Alex. And I was like, I decided walking in, I'm not voting for Waylon. There's no way I'm voting for Waylon. I'm voting for Alex. And you can see on the video, so Alex goes off on that tribal, completely off the rails. He's throwing out F-bombs. He's telling all the truths that we're all thinking, but he went on a tear. And I lean over to Katie and I go, I don't trust him. I don't trust him. Do you want to go to the end with somebody that's going to fly off like this? Like, he's unpredictable. He could do this later on. Katie, please vote for him. Like, I'm not voting for Waylon. I'm voting for Alex. Waylon is definitely voting for Alex. You don't want to take him to the end. He's being crazy. Now, I love Alex and I love everything that he said. And we were all like, yeah, give it to him. But in that moment, I think she had her mind made up anyway. But I think when he went off like that and it was like, hey, he's loud. Like, you know, I don't know what he's going to stir up. Are you sure you want to go with him? So.
Okay. Now, did you know that? I think you actually just said this. You didn't know that he was trying to tie.
I had no idea.
Okay. Yeah. So he was asking us if it tied, if it went to rocks or if it went to a fire making challenge. And I mean, I clearly rocks, so it wouldn't have worked out. Yeah. So going in, we were like, oh shit, this is gonna be rock. We had rocks ready. We were ready to go. But anyway, so you three survived that round. You make it to the swap, and you two end up together on the new green.
Green?
Mm-hmm. Yes, green. Yes. New green. So I feel like you two probably seemed pretty popular on that swap tribe. Was everyone approaching you? Or what happened that first night when you went to the new tribe?
I think, well, it was kind of a slow development the first night. I think we were all just trying to get to know everybody and kind of going around. I think we would be remiss to say if we weren't popular because the numbers just lined up. We were right in the middle. And it wasn't like, I think we had an idea of what we wanted to do going into it, which was to go with blue. But it helped that Justin was just like, we're going to do this. And like, including both of us, like, into it. And I'm like, oh, okay, right. Great. That's what he did every round. we're gonna do this, like including like this is what we're gonna do. I'm like, okay. So he was probably the first person to be like, we're gonna vote Sierra. And I was like, okay. I guess that's the case. But everyone was great on that tribe.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we came together and we won the first challenge. We got the bigger thing of food. Unfortunately, well, I guess Alan was the first one to go because of exile. And I think it was because of exile, just he wasn't around.
I do too.
I don't think it had anything to do with him at all. It was just,
Yeah.
he was in
I wish
exile
he had
and he
stuck
was agreeing.
around. I really liked him a lot. I talked to
he
him
came
for
up-
30 seconds and I was like, I will follow you to the end of the earth. I love you. I'm glad you're only here for 30 seconds.
Now,
Sorry, Alan came up to me and like before we're voting for him, like I knew the vote was on him, and maybe Justin did tell him this, but Alan goes, yeah, Justin came up and he says all the votes are on you and we really need your help here, you know, like we'll vote for, was it Justin at that point or somebody, and
I think it was Justin.
they're just throwing your name under the bus or whatever. I'm like, this guy's lying to my face, like
Oh my God. Is that the time? So if I'm not mistaken, that vote, we speed dated with everybody else. And then Waylon and I always went to each other last. And we got together. I remember this. And I was like, what do you think? And you were like, I like this person. This person's full of shit. I don't trust this person. This person's working with this person. And I was like, I am so glad that you can read bullshit. Like we had the same views on everybody. And you were like, Alan's feeding me a load of crap. I was like, me too. It's fine.
Well, Alan's like, hey, I've seen you with Katie, and like, I was like, what do you mean? Like, when did you see me with Katie? He's like, oh, I think we have to, you know, we really have to work well together. We have to get to Katie. We just have to get to Katie. We have to do this. And I was like, you're okay. Like, yeah, Katie and I are close, but like, this is the first time we've ever met each other. Like, you don't know who I talk to, but yeah.
So do you feel like if Alan wasn't exiled that first night that he potentially could have stayed after that first vote? Because Emily and Damien were very quiet compared to Alan.
I don't know his gameplay enough to say that. If he came out and like was, you know, made himself a target, that's a different story. I think he was a target because of exile. But I think coming into it, we might have gone more towards Damien's way. Like if Alan was around, or depending on who's exiled, I guess it would all. Right. If a blue was exiled,
right, exactly.
I don't think they would have left. But maybe we would have switched to green at that point. But I think we still would have had the numbers for blue. So I think it was just going to be a green. And Alan was the easy one to get on board with because we had chances to have relationships with everybody else because we were able to develop and sit and talk with everybody. And Alan was just like, we didn't know him. And so it was not an easy vote, but it was a simple one.
I will say though, when we originally swapped and we did the sandbag challenge, as soon as we swapped, I walked right over to Justin, who, by the way, I had zero interest in working with when I first got there. I knew him because I had seen him play and I was like, I'm never working with that guy. But I did know his sister. And so as soon as we switched, I walked right up to him and I was like, hey, I worked with your sister for a really long time. I love her. She's awesome. What? And he was like, really? And I was like, yeah. And because sorry, Waylon, I wanted a little in more than with you. Oh, so during that sandbag challenge, I stood beside Justin and we kind of talked throughout it a little bit. So I did know pretty much after that challenge that I did want to work with him at least for a little while. So I would have contemplated keeping Alan, but I definitely wanted to align with Justin pretty much right off the bat.
Okay.
I did too. He would come up and say like, oh, this is what we're going to do. But like, I like that. Because
me too.
One, he was confident. And two, he wasn't just doing it to us. He was doing it to everybody. And I think everyone was like, what is this guy doing? Like, he's a target. And so you align yourself with targets, use them as, you know, it's better. I think.
Absolutely.
So this was actually my next question anyway. Did Blue always hold the power in decision making, or did you ever feel like you had a say in what was happening?
I feel like we had a lot of say actually, or I will say, so when I am I skipping ahead too much, I think? When I got chosen to go to Exile with Stephanie,
Yeah.
I was let in on this whole other world of things. And I think I thought a lot about the Girls Alliance that was mentioned to me. The problem with the Girls Alliance is I didn't know any of the girls. That was the problem. It sounded like a great idea. And the minute that I started talking to Stephanie, I was like, she is my soul sister. I love her. I trusted her. We sat down like we had been friends for 10 years. And I really liked her and I really did want to work with her. But I didn't know Caitlin. I didn't know Sierra. I didn't know any of the other women. And I was like, that's going to be a really hard sell for me. So, Sierra and I got really close, kind of like she brought me in on like certain plans, and I did really like her a lot. So I was entertaining maybe switching here and there. And I do feel like Waylon and I could have been the swing vote either way for quite a while between both tribes.
I agree. I think if Angela and I, if we would have, and maybe you can concur or disagree, maybe it's not true, but I think if we would have bounced back and forth or even like split apart
Yeah,
and like played from both sides at some point, I think it would have differentiated our games a lot more.
I do too.
And I think we could have still had each other's backs. It would have been suspicious if we were on opposite things. But if after a couple votes where we're not together, it could change, you know?
Well, I did tell when Stephanie and I were on Exile, she's like, what am I going to tell them? And I was like, she's like, because they want you and Waylon. And she was like, but really, we kind of only need one. And I was like, well, go back and tell them that Justin is like only talking to Waylon. He's not really talking to me because I'm a girl. Like, he's only interested in
Right.
talking to Waylon because Waylon
I
calls all
hate
the
women.
shots. And she's like, so I was like, so go tell him that, which wasn't true at all, but it sounded good. And I felt like everybody would believe it, right? Because Justin was kind of like the bad guy of our season. Like, that dick, he's not talking to Angela. Not true. Totally not true. I love Justin and I wanted to work with him. I actually felt like Justin and I talked more than Waylon and I did through a lot of the endpoints of the game. Sorry. And follow me to the bathroom.
It's interesting strategy.
Yeah.
It worked.
So let's see. Oh, my next question was, how was Exile with Steph? So Waylon, so you won an individual immunity that round before the merge. And then Angela went to Exile. So there was literally no chance for a pink to get voted out. Why did Emily get chosen to leave over Damien, in your opinion?
Why did well at that see, you took away my other half and I was safe.
Aww.
So I was at a point to where I had no say in it. I couldn't sway. Like, maybe I could have, but I feel like it would have put more of a target on my back. I just was, you know, I knew I was safe. I was being recruited by both sides at that point, but I was sticking with blue just because it would have been, you know, I don't think it would have been wise to go to green at that point. Especially when I didn't have Angela to talk to. If Angela and I was there, I think if we switched to green or did something, we could have maybe done something else. But Angela wasn't there. So I was just like, I wasn't my choice. Emily was great. Emily's a fantastic person. And she knew, I think, because I told her I wasn't going to vote for her, but I think she knew that I was going to vote for her, because she turned around at Tribal and she's like, we can all choose our own fate or something. And I was like,
oh God.
Yeah, we can all, you know.
Oh, Emily.
It was tough. But it wasn't, I don't think, well, I know I was not the one who said, yeah, we're going to do Emily over Damien. At that point, I still had it in my mind that Damien was this challenge guy, and I would have probably rather gone for Damien at that time. But I remember Justin going into that challenge that I won. Justin's like, I didn't want to target anybody, because that's I love that game. But like, it's very strategic in who you go after first. Justin's like, we need to like bum rush Emily, and like we'll corner her. And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, let's do that. I did not want to. If you watch the video, Justin immediately lunges at Emily, and I'm like standing like, whoa, like, what are you gonna do? But I was not even close to her. I just was like, I don't want to corner her, and like I did not want to like her. It's gonna be the one home. And then Emily got the backhand on Justin and took
it. Was
I was
so
great.
great.
So great.
So good.
So
But
great.
Justin's like, yeah, we're gonna quarter Emily, and I was like, okay, yeah, we'll do it. Unfortunately, it did end up being Emily that round, but it was not my choice, and I don't know if I could have done anything at that point,
Right.
to do anything different. You know,
Yeah.
maybe I could have brought up names, but I think it would have painted a bigger target on me for the future.
Okay. So that's all the questions I had about the swap. Is there anything you two want to talk about in terms of the swap that we may have missed before we move to the merge?
I think so.
Anything, Angela? Speak now, forever hold your peace.
I don't think so. The merge is where
Okay.
it got bananas.
Oh, right. Okay. So we'll get to the merge. First of all, I mean, you two went from a tribe that was completely decimated to being in a good spot. How did it feel to make the merge after the game that you had to survive up to that point?
That was such a relief. Like I think the goal, I mean, you're obviously you're trying to win the game, but I love the merge is where, you know, even if you lose, you have a say in who wins the game.
Exactly.
And so you're a part of the whole entire experience. And so just being there and knowing that it wasn't even that the money started like adding up at that point. It was more so like, okay, I get to be here for the entire duration. There's no more, okay, you traveled 15 hours, you're the third boot, and you can go home or enjoy Maine or stay around with people who are salty. Like it was at that point, it was like, okay, we're here. You know, you're gonna be here the whole time. It's an experience, and no matter what happens, you're gonna have an effect. You're gonna be a defining part of the experience. So it was a relief, and a very much like okay, that was cool.
100%. The only thing that I will say is that I was really nervous as soon as we merged, because I felt like the beginning of the game was really, really hard for me, and I had to work really hard. I felt like I was trying to like argue points and try to get certain people out. And then when we split into two tribes, Waylon and I kind of had an easy time. Like, I wasn't worried about me. I wasn't worried about him. We kind of like, we're like, sure, green guy, go ahead. This person, sure. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and we had to think about our decisions, but it was never us. So when it came time for the merge, I think my heart fell out of my butt, because I was like, now there's all these people that I don't know. I had never even met, spoken to, talked to so many of those people. And I was like, so where am I going to fit in that? And now it's just Waylon and I again. And how is this going to go down? So I was terrified, but extremely, especially when I got my sandwich. Oh my God, that's the best sandwich I've ever had in my whole life. I was so excited. I walked up and I was like, can it be a triple decker sandwich? And she was like, oh, that's my sister. And she was like, they just said a sandwich. And so I put like 3 pieces of bread and all the things. I walked off and everybody was like, why didn't I think of that? I don't know. We got to be more on top of it.
Always thinking. I love it.
So you said that you were scared going into the merge, but in all honesty, did either of you feel like you would be in danger the first couple rounds of merge? Or did you assume in the back of your head, like, it's clearly blue versus green still?
I think at that point it was blue versus green, and that we were going to be on the right side of the numbers. It's just, I think the first round I felt okay, but it was like, when are they going to start shaving, and who are they going to start shaving? And I felt,
right.
I didn't know. I figured pink was where it was going to land on, but I do think I don't know. I think at that point, the game, the whole dynamics changed to where we were closer with certain people and other people. And plus, it was very convenient when Barry was like, let's go for Albie. And Albie's like, what? And so blue kind of like crumbled a little bit. So when it came time for shaving, Barry was the guy that was shaved because he shot himself. I think he was just a teeny tiny bit too early with that. But I think Angela and I were like, okay, this works out for us, because I feel like we would have been on the chopping block when they decided to do that.
So the only really hard part I guess back up a little bit. So after we merged, was when we did our confessionals where Robbie pulled me aside and I did my whole confessional, and he was like, so you remember that there's a fan favorite poll going on and we were going to find out about it at the merge. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, what would you do if I told you? And he handed me this paper and I start bawling, like ugly. Like, I'm not a crazy emotional person. And I just hyperventilating, crying in the woods, like, thank you so much. It was like an embarrassing Miss America speech. It was so bad, but I was beside myself. There was an idol, and I don't even think I realized what it was. It just meant so much to me that I had so much support. So right after that, I go for a walk in the woods. We like go see Green's camp because we had never seen it, or Blues camp, I guess. And I'm walking with Damien. Damien and I have a mutual friend outside of the game that we both know really well. And so it's me, Damien, and Justin, and we're talking. And I didn't hide the fact that, one, I used to fight, or that my husband owns a gym. So Damien knows my husband's gym. Justin now knows that I used to fight. And they're like, oh, this is the gym that you're from. This is where you used to fight. And you raise the most amount of money. And so instantly I'm going, oh crap, they're going to know that I might have won the fan favorite. They're going to put 2 and 2 together. And then we go back to camp and Justin pulls like Chris aside to go talk to. And I was like, why is Justin talking to Chris? Justin has never talked to Chris before. Why is he? Are they going to vote me out? Is that what's going to happen? And I just got uber paranoid because it was this weird moment where both Justin and Damien realized that I might have a lot of people following me or would have voted for me. And the paranoia just like really got the best of me, especially when Justin was talking to people they wouldn't normally talk to. Mm-hmm. I was like, are they going to band together and get out somebody that may or may not have an advantage in the game, which would have been me. So that first night, or the last night that we slept over, I never closed my eyes. Never. I crawled in. I think I might have slept for maybe 20 minutes. I got up. I walked around in the middle of the night because I couldn't. I was like, okay, if Justin figured this out, I'm going to talk to him in the morning. I'm going to feel him out. I'm going to see if I get any weird vibes. If I do, I have to figure out what to do. Am I going to vote with this person? Am I going to come over here? Who am I going to go with? I wanted to go with Justin, but I felt like if I knew he was going to vote me out or was thinking about it, there's no way. So I like walked around, crawled in my sleeping bag at like dawn. And I was like, how am I going to talk to Justin? How am I going to have this conversation? So what do? I like gator roll in my sleeping bag to make all kinds of noise. It doesn't wake anybody else up, but it wakes Justin up. And so I put my shoes on like, oh, I have to go to the bathroom. I didn't say anything because all you gotta do is get out of your sleeping bag and walk, and Justin's right there. So I was like, got my shoes on and started walking down the trail, and I hear little footsteps right behind me. And I was like, perfect. So Justin and I talked that morning for probably like a half an hour. I think before anybody else was really up or moving or knew what was going on. And just from talking to him, like we got without earshot of camp, and he was like, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to get this person out. This is how we're going to do it. I think Barry's playing really hard. We got to go after him. I think I trust Albie more than I trust Barry. And I was like, oh, he has no idea. Oh, I'm great. Yeah, whatever you want, Justin. We'll just get out of all those guys and I'm fine. So, but that being said, I didn't sleep at all. Like, not at all. And like my brain started getting kind of funny and I couldn't remember people's names and I couldn't remember like the town I was from. Like, it's just so weird.
I mean, I was in that same position when I played Surviving Maine, so I completely know like
it's
what
real.
It's the fatigue is so real. It's so, if you don't sleep, it's so hard. I mean, it's I feel like nighttime is the best time to strategize and think through everything, but it's also like a double-edged sword. So yeah. So Waylon, that next morning, walk us through when you found a hidden immunity idol.
Okay, I was not looking. I was not like I knew there were stories of Damien waking up and following prod members around the camp, trying to see if he would, like, if they would plant an idol. Justin was always eagle eyes, looking for something. I get it, tribal. I'm going to sit on the far side of the camp. Someone cuts me off, and I was like, "Well, I'm not gonna sit there." That's what solidified it, because then I was like, I'll sit over here, and I look, I'm sitting down, and I see a string poking out from under the wood board that's holding the torches, and I was like, a string under the wood,
suspicious string.
And so I kind of like got down a little bit when I put my stuff down, and I saw a little bit of the packaging. I was like, that's a freaking idol. That's a freaking idol underneath there. And so was not looking at all. And Justin's kind of like in front of me, sitting in front of me. He's turning around and he's like looking, and I was like, oh, he saw it. And so I'm like looking at him straight like this, because I want to make him feel as uncomfortable as possible. I need him to turn back around. I was like, I know what you're doing, girl. Like, I know. And so what I did was, I was like, I have to make sure no one sees this. And I didn't know if Justin saw it or not. So we're kind of in a similar situation, Angela, with Justin. And I picked up my water bottle, took a swig, then picked up my gym bag, put my water bottle in my gym bag, and I leaned the gym bag in front of the idol, thinking if Justin saw it, we'll figure that out afterwards. But at least no one else will see it. And so after, I knew that, I think Ciara went home that round.
Yeah.
I knew that I was okay. And so at the end, I was like, well, now I have to like grab it. And so when I went over there, I put my bag on, and I grabbed my sleeping bag, and I like held it against my side. And I immediately turned to Damien, because it's like, when you're having a conversation with someone, no one cares if you're fumbling with your pockets or anything. They're not going to think anything of it, rather than if you're over there like, oh, I need to hide this. So I was like, talk to somebody and make eye contact with them, so that way they're looking at your eyes. And so I was like scratching my butt with the idol, and then like tucking it in my pocket while just eagle-eyeing Damien at that point. And he didn't think anything of it. I went down, I was like, gotta pee, urination. And so I went over and into the bathroom, and I just stuffed it in my shoe, and didn't know what round I could use it at, but I was just like, I have to get out of my pocket, because bulges in pockets are never a good thing in this game. And so
I
was
mine
just
in
like,
my sports bra, and it fell out.
Oh, God.
And it went all the way down my stomach. So I was like, oh, gotta pee again. And I ran into the bathroom and like put it in my sock. I was like, where do people stick these? I don't know where they go.
I didn't know. I was shocked that I found one, because I've never, like, an idol. I've never had an idol in the online games. I've never had something in my possession like that. And I was like, holy crap. Like, and people were looking for this idol. And it just happened to be there. It just happened to be there, and I saw it. And it was because I got cut off before I sat down. It is, I don't know if it might have been Albie, but I was about to sit somewhere, and I got cut off, and he just sat there, and I was like, okay, not a big deal. I didn't, and so I moved, and that's when I saw it. So.
All right. Now, Ciara goes home. I feel like it was a pretty easy, like, we're going to split the votes. Ciara's going to go home. Done. I actually don't know if the votes were split. I don't remember.
I think they were.
They were not.
I mean, not. I mean, no. They weren't split.
But the next round was. So when it was Chris and Rob, you split the votes between those two.
I have a hilarious story about that, actually.
Okay.
So we speed dated. We knew it was Rob and Chris. Really, this is what we're going to do. We're going to split them. These people are going to vote Rob. These people are going to vote Chris. If on a revote, we're going to vote Rob. So again, Angela didn't sleep the night before. So, and I think Rob, I did try to play it at first, which he mentioned in his, he was like, Angela came to me and was like, nah, we're going to vote Justin. And I knew she was going to vote Justin, or whoever it was going to be. But what he didn't say, and this happened, and it was like that moment that I was like, oh God, you're such an idiot. So we speed date. I go up to Rob, talk to him for a little bit, and he's like, who is it really? And I was supposed to say Chris and Damien. And then we're going to revote, and it's going to be Chris. But really, it was Rob and Chris. And he goes, who are we going to vote for? I was like, Rob and Chris. And he goes, I'm Rob. And I go, yes, you are. But we're going to revote and it's going to be Chris. And he was like, really? And I was like, yeah. I was like, I can't believe I just said his name to him. Like, I'm such an idiot. I was like, oh my God. I was like, it's going to be Rob. He was like, I'm Rob. Oh, God. Oh, it was awful. It was awful.
That's awkward. Okay, you have
that was awkward.
Yeah, that was
That's hilarious.
That is so awkward.
Sorry, Rob.
At least you like you know, helped yourself a little bit and said, but it's gonna be Chris after.
Oh my God.
Maybe he respected it. She's like,
Maybe
he could have been like, yo, she would just.
I went right up
She
to, I
told
think
me.
I was like, Justin. I was like, Justin, I kind of fucked that up. I don't know. I think he knows. It's fine. Like it was really just trying to flush an idol anyway. So it didn't change the course of anything.
right.
Thank God.
If you watch Australian Survivor, anyone that watches Australian Survivor this season, there was a split vote where it was 3-3-3, and someone didn't know what they were doing and they voted the wrong way, so the minority ended up winning.
Wow.
So that would have been fun if you just, you know, voted
God.
wrong, not knowing who their names were. So we get through those 2 rounds and then the game changes. So one of you mentioned that you know, Barry started going for Albie. So what were you 2 thinking when Barry started going for Albie? Were you initially like, ooh, maybe we should go for Albie, or were you in on the push to get Barry?
Oh, you go first, Waylon.
I like Albie, but Albie, I think everyone kind of can like conceived that he was a target too for a while. Like he was a one of the larger players at that point. Barry not so much, but we knew that Albie would come up in future votes, or like be considered for future votes. So it was like, okay, we can take this time to start shaving it off because it's not going to be us. And so we'll go for Barry. We'll prove ourselves to Albie. At least that was my thought process. And so I was fine with Barry trying to do that. And then us, it was like perfect because if he told us, and then we're like, well, we're just going to go and tell Albie and all of them. And so it was a moment where we could prove ourselves. At least that's what I considered it. Angela?
I was very different.
Really?
Very. I actually had a semi-formed final 2 with Barry, kind of real quick. I don't know why we instantly clicked the minute that I had a conversation with him. I absolutely loved him immediately. I did not think he was a threat. I felt like I could beat him at the end. But I really liked him, and I really liked how he thought about things. He was very strategic, a little too much so. So I did not want him to go, but he had created such turmoil, especially with Justin. Justin like wanted his head on a platter. He was like, how dare he? And I think Stephanie was really far into the Albie train also. Like she was really rooting to keep Albie, and I just was like, I can't be the odd person out. I don't think I could have saved him. And it was hard because at that point you start thinking about who you're going to go to the end with and how, and if you can beat them. And Barry was somebody that I was like, I would love to go with Barry and Justin, or Barry and Damien, or, you know, like, and I had already been thinking about that, and to hear him and to know that there was nothing that I could have done, I was really bummed.
Now, if we had the numbers, like, and if he had the numbers and his plan was originally, like, if it would have actually worked, but it was required us, I think I would have done it. I think I would have voted Albie. I wasn't close. I
told him at the end, you know, after it was all over, I said, if you had come to me instead of Justin, why did you go to Justin? It's Albie's best ally. Like, if you had come to the people a little bit more on the outs of that relationship, we probably could have done it. And it would have been a great move. It was just a little too much too fast.
Now, going into that Barry vote, did you anticipate going into the final 7 and teaming up with Green? Or was that something that happened once you got to the final 7?
No, we had talked about it. I think that vote or something. We had talked about switching, I think, and who the biggest threats are. We were like,
Right.
are Justin and Albie.
I think we realized Albie at that point.
We did.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
then it got to points where he just kept winning everything.
Well, so actually at that final 7, he didn't have immunity.
Right.
Because I remember Waylon and I like had decided like, okay, we're doing this. We're making a really big move. Justin's going to kill us. And we both knew that we wanted to keep Justin because he was a really big shield. And I think we both felt okay with going to the end with him. And Waylon was like, I don't know, Stephanie or Albie. And Stephanie had just hopped around on one leg forever. And I was like, and I adore Albie, but he was starting to like throw these little bitch fits occasionally when like people would throw out a name and he's like, I'm not splitting the vote. And I was like, well, he's kind of being a dink. Maybe we should keep him for a minute. And Stephanie was like amazing and everybody loved her and she was so funny and she was so strong. And so when Waylon and I were talking and I was like, I think I want to go for Steph, and I truly adore her. But I was like, I think she's more of a threat right now than Albie is because everybody's irritated at Albie. But really, it could have been either one of them.
And you said Steph to me, and I immediately I was thinking the same thing because I was going to try to bring it up to you because we went to Albie. We're like, okay, listen, people are throwing your name around, but we're going to tell them we're voting for you. And he's like, why me? Why is it always me? I'm like, bro, we're not the ones to bring up your name, but we're not just going to be like, no, what do you mean? He's like, why me? Why is the vote on me? He's like, but you're not going home. It's like, it's okay. At that point, I had votes on me for decoy, and I was like, okay, it's fine. I was like, Albie. But then Stephanie, I think she was very smart. She was very well positioned. And that was, I think, the biggest blind side of the game because I did not think and maybe I'm wrong, but I did not think she thought anything that she was going home. And I really felt bad that time. And did we tell her? Did she vote Albie or did she vote Chris?
Those 3 voted for Chris.
Chris. Yeah, we told her to vote Chris. And so, but
it's kind of an easier vote. I don't even think they really questioned it. They were like, yeah, Chris, he's a shoo-in for the jury. Get him out. And we were like, yeah. And Waylon and I are going, oh God, we're gonna die after this. They're all gonna kill us.
We're gonna be under fire. And but
so Stephanie ends up leaving. So now we get to final 6. You had just flipped on Justin and Albie. Now you're at the final 6 with 2 people who you voted with last round and 2 people who you were working with prior to that. Were you in the middle, or did they ever try to team up against you?
If they did, I didn't hear about it.
There was 2 and 2 at that point, right?
Yeah.
And I think they were solidly still against each other. At least Green was specifically against Blue. I don't think Chris and Damien at that point were conniving with Blue to get one of us out. I think their game plan was still to keep us on board with Justin. But I feel like, they all acknowledged that the Stephanie vote was a good plan because it was eventually, they were kind of, I guess, contemplating not the same thing that round, but in the future having to address that. And so I just felt, I don't know. We picked Blue. Maybe that was our downfall. Maybe we should have switched to Green at that point. I don't know.
I don't think that was our downfall, Waylon.
You don't think? What was our downfall?
Well,
friggin' idols. That was our downfall.
So
that's true too.
Okay,
but we can't say idols because we can't, not every player gets the idol. In the actual game, when without idols involved, I don't know. You might be right. You're probably right.
Going off of that, did you ever think about staying with Green that round and going after Albie and Justin?
Yeah,
Albie
we
had
talked
immunity,
about it.
but
We really weighed our options. Honestly, Justin handled it better than I thought. I think he came up to us. It was in the middle of that roller ball challenge or whatever. And he was like, so does this mean you're with Green? And I was like, no, no, we just had to get a really big threat out. And he was like, okay, because you know that I really like you and I want to work with you. And I was like, I know, Justin. And he's like, well, what are you doing next? And I was like, I don't know. We'll see what happens with this challenge. And I think Waylon and I weighed our options, and I don't really remember. I know that I didn't hear his name, and I don't feel like I heard any mention of mine. So they were pretty
I think,
solid against each other.
if I remember correctly, you and I had a talk where we were like, Justin, you know, he got the worst things at the
Oh, yeah.
superlatives. And we were like, I don't think that he's a big of a threat at the end.
Yeah.
Albie won that challenge. I really think if he didn't win,
Oh, I would have voted
we would have
Albie.
went for Albie.
I
at that
absolutely
point.
would have.
We would have gone with Green because I recognize Chris as a threat, but I thought Albie was a bigger threat at that point.
Oh, yeah.
We could have
100%.
used Green and switched, but Albie won, which changed everything up. And then Chris was the other on the other side. That
you're 100% right.
I actually, and I feel like if that would have happened, if Albie lost that, Albie goes home. At least one of you makes it to the end in that scenario. I feel like because Justin and Chris still would have been against each other no matter what. So one of those spots would have been at least for you guys.
Right.
And you probably would have won.
Don't say that. Don't say that. I don't say that. I don't know.
Waylon, you went into the Final Six Tribal really paranoid because you played your idol without needing to. You got no votes against you. So what made you what made you play that idol?
Well, we were at a point in the game. Everyone's name, Albie won. Chris, I felt, was such an obvious vote. And then I felt out of Angela and I, not that Angela wasn't a target, I just thought that if they were going to go for one of us,
it would have been you.
They were going to go for me. And so there was everyone's name at that point in the game is being mentioned. Okay. I did not know Angela had an idol. Angela did not know I had an idol. I walk in, everyone's telling me Chris. And if you recall, we told Stephanie, when Stephanie was majorly blindsided, everyone just told her to write Chris. And I'm like thinking, they're doing the same thing to me. Like they're going to blindside me, not wanting to do it. And I didn't think it was necessarily you, Angela, but I also didn't want to I didn't think that you would, I don't know. I thought maybe if the opportunity presented itself and it made sense, you wouldn't be afraid to take it too. At that point in the game,
thought I'd do you dirty like that?
Well, I wouldn't have blamed you at that point.
I might have. I don't know.
Six is a tough. But if they would have came to you and said, "Let's vote. We're going to vote Waylon out, and we're all going to come together." Like, let's say Green and Blue were actually working together. You're not going to die on your own sword. You know, you would. I think you would have voted for me. And so I thought maybe that was the position. Maybe they were putting you in, or maybe they were doing that. My name. Everyone's name came up that round, but then everybody's just saying, we're just doing Chris. We're doing Chris. And I just recalled Stephanie being blindsided so much. And I walked into that telling myself, do not play this. Do not play this. Do not play this. Cam looks me. He says, Waylon, is there talk of idols? Is there talk of people playing idols? I'm like, yeah. Where's he goes, is there going to be an idol expected to play tonight? I was like, I don't know. Maybe. Yeah. No. I don't know. And I'm like, I thought not that he was trying to hit me off. I'm reading subconsciously he's very intuitive with his questions. Cam did a great job asking questions. I'm like, he caught on to something about something. And he's the only one that knows I have an idol. So I was like, not that he's trying to hint it off, but I was like, I wonder if that's just part of that. Wonder if he's, and that made my decision. I'm like, I'm playing it. I have to play it. And so I walked into it. I was like, I'm not going to do it. And I was so nervous because, I mean, it was just, you have that in your hands. You don't know whether, I don't know.
I know.
It was so tough. But I played it, figured I'd be on the safe side. But my idea was I'm probably going to go home next unless I win the challenge. And if I kept it, I would regret not playing it at 6 if they did vote for me. So it was just, yes, I regret it. Yes, I regret it. But I look back and I'm like, I felt like I was justified as well, even though I did get no votes. And you were right. They were telling me the truth. It was just, you never know at that point in the game. But yeah.
Yeah. So did either of you ever consider flipping on each other?
I would have flipped on Angela at 4. That was
Okay.
my plan.
I would have flipped on Waylon at 4.
Okay, fair. I feel like that's a good spot to flip on each
Yeah.
other. Like Denise Malcolm, like one of you needed to get voted out.
Yeah, we had a very
Right.
similar story, and like Waylon said, we played really similarly even after that. Like I think we both had slightly different relationships with people, but we still made our decisions together. We never really separated, so it would have just made
Right.
sense.
I think we wouldn't, if we would have both been sitting at the end, I don't know if it would have mattered who we were sitting next to. I think our games would have almost nullified each other.
Yeah.
Maybe we would have each gotten a stray vote or two here or there, and maybe it would have been close. But I think it's not that, like, we played different games, but we were just so, we did reconvene on every vote. We were on the same page every time. And it was just so, I don't know. It would have been tough to argue to a jury who saw it from that perspective, how we played our own individual games, unless one turned on the other and the other turned, I believe at 4, Angela would have turned on. I think Angela would have had the numbers and I would have went home at 4. I really do. I think Angela was better seated with the others at that point, unless I won. That's different. And if I won the challenge and then Albie's there, I think Albie would have been the choice, and maybe I could have argued for it. But I think Angela would have tried to flip on me at that point, because even against Albie, I think you would have had a good case, especially if I wasn't there, or vice versa. Because I just didn't want. I knew I didn't want to sit with you at the very end, not because it's just because we both had the similar stories. I don't know. I think you would have got me out at 4 anyways, unless I won the challenge.
I would have tried.
I would have tried against you too, and that's just mutual respect. It's just because I respect you.
It's a respect vote.
And I think, and honestly, you get to the end, you vote me out at 4, I still would have voted you for final 3.
Oh, absolutely.
And
yeah,
I think vice versa, if I would have somehow
absolutely
made it so I think I still would have had your vote at the end too.
Yes, 100%.
So we get to final 5. Waylon, this is the round where your game comes to an end. Now, Angela, you voted for Waylon. Was it a choice? Like, did everyone come up to you and say, we're voting Waylon?
I didn't vote for Waylon.
No, she didn't vote for me.
Waylon?
Nope,
No,
oh my God. No, you didn't. Oh my God, no, you didn't. No.
Well, no, I didn't vote for Waylon.
Were you?
Okay.
Did you know? I guess
I did know.
You did. Okay.
I figured.
The problem that I had, like, I literally walked through the door when it was all over, and my husband's like, "Why didn't you play your idol for Waylon?" And I was like, "Listen, my name was also talked about. Like, we're all talking about each other. This is final freaking 4. Like, this is, we ain't playing no games. Or final 5. It's the last time I could use my idol. Just like Waylon said, I don't want to be the idiot that has it in my pocket, doesn't use it, or uses it wrong and goes home." And in retrospect, I feel like I should have known that he was going to be the target over me. My brain should have said that. My heart, because Justin literally ran over and was like, "Waylon's saying your name. He's going to vote for you."
Which is...
He did. And it was a spicy situation that happened. We got to the bottom of it eventually.
Just hold on.
But when he said that, and I am not being dramatic, I could hear my heart break. And I wouldn't have been mad, but every vote for the whole game, I could look him in the eye, and I just looked him right in the eye, and I just believed him. And in a game like this, that means a lot. And I was like, "Oh, my friend has backstabbed me." And Waylon came over and gave me a story, and he kind of looked panicked, and he was like, he was telling me something, and I was like, now I'm in this boat where I either have to play my idol because I think it's me, and I didn't know what to do. And either way, I felt like it's either him or me. And either way, I'm absolutely devastated. Absolutely devastated.
Albie wins that challenge. He is the first person which is terrible, because he was I think the top target at that point still. And he was the first person I talked to. I think Albie at that point, I played my idol before. He knew it was me at that point. Albie goes, well, he says, Waylon, we're speed dating. He goes, Waylon, you're gonna have to give me something here for it not to be you. And I was like, okay. We've been talking about Damien being really good at challenges. Do you, and the jury is filled with green people. And if he wins that last challenge, do you think you're going to beat him? He goes, I don't want to go for Damien. I was like, okay, Justin, great. We've been talking about how big of a target he's been being the whole time. Seriously, this is the pecking order. And I was like, just, he has a good story when he gets to the end. He's like, I don't want to do Justin. I'm like, well, do you want to do Angela? Like, what am I supposed to do? I went through my pecking order and he's like, oh, you want to do Angela? Yeah, we can do Angela. I'm like, buddy, I know exactly what you're going to do. And he did exactly the same thing. He went around and he says, Waylon's throwing Angela's name out. Waylon's throwing Angela's name out. And I went to Angela and I think I told you, I said your name, not because I wanted, like, he literally pulled it out of me. And we would have had the numbers maybe to say, maybe I would have went for you, but I knew that Albie was going to go around and be like, Waylon said Angela's name. At that point, that was the first time in the game I think I had to be on my own saying somebody's name. And I went through, I would have rather gone for Damien or Justin at that point. I went through that list. You were the last person, but not Justin, just vote me. What do you mean? What do you mean? Like, he pulled that out of me to use it against me, which was good, but he had immunity. So he would, I don't know. It would have, yeah. It was just, I don't know. I did not want to vote you at that point. I was waiting for 4, but I knew it was.
I was sick. I think I almost threw up at Tribal, like, because I just knew, and I knew that I was going to be safe because I was going to use it for me. I was going to use it to save myself. But the thought of losing Waylon literally killed me, and thinking that he might have voted against me also killed me, even though my brain was like, well, duh, of course he's going to talk about it. That was really hard. That was a really, really hard one.
We were both, like, we didn't know that all of this was happening. All we knew was that you 2 voted together, the other 3 voted together. I assumed going into Tribal that you would play your idol on Waylon. Obviously not knowing this entire backstory of what was going on that round. So we were like, oh my God, they're both going to make it to 4. We were so
Oh
amped.
my God. That would have been so great. If he had kept his friggin' idol, maybe we could have made it.
You could have played your idol on me. We would have made it in it.
So funny. One of my only regrets, and it's not that I should have played it for Waylon, because I think in the situation that I was in retrospect, yeah, it would have been great. But in my brain, I was hearing my name more than Waylon's. So, like, I was also very paranoid. My biggest regret is that I came in with a very strict mentality that if I found an idol, I was not telling a soul. Mm-hmm. Never. I didn't care what relationship I had. I didn't care what the circumstance. I was never telling another person about it. And I was never even tempted to use it until that very last Tribal. Never. I didn't even cross my mind. And if I hadn't been so rigid coming into the game with that belief, I would have told Waylon. I would have confided in him because I trusted him more than my family almost. Like, I really did trust him so much. And it was just like a strict, hard limit rule that I set before coming in. I didn't even think about it. I never even contemplated telling anybody.
Me neither.
And I wish that I had.
When I found it, I was like, I can't tell anybody. Like, I didn't know. It wasn't that. I think I came in with the same mentality. You find an idol, even with the first clue, if you find it by yourself, don't tell anybody. Just save it for yourself. And I feel like if either of us would have came to each other and been like, hey, I found this idol, or like, hey, I got this idol. If you would have told me you have this idol, I would have been, me too.
Can you imagine what that would have been like?
If we both play idols at Final 5.
Epic.
Total. Epic. We choose. Well, it'd been between Damien and Justin. Who would we have went for between Damien and Justin?
I would have let you pick, I think.
You would have let me pick?
Yeah, I think so.
I might have at that point.
Honestly, like, the problem, I adore Damien. I adore him.
I like
And
it a lot.
it's going to come up later, but he was like, I don't care about this game. Vote me out at 4. I don't want to be here. I don't even care. I don't want to make a speech. And I was like, so bothered by that. But that also didn't, I knew that was going to sit well with the jury, and I was going to bring it up if I made it to the end.
Sure.
There's no way people are going to vote for somebody that talks about that game like that, especially when it meant so much to other people. And Justin, I didn't think Justin was going to get a ton of votes anyway, so it didn't matter to me.
I think I would have, if you were going to leave it up to me, I think I would have pushed for us to vote Damien, because I did feel like the remaining 4 of us were playing the game harder.
Yeah,
and I think it would have made our chances better at having more players in the game at that point. Not that Damien played the game and he played his own game and he played it great. And he made it far because of it. And so, but I just felt like if we all would have had a better chance if we were all on that same level.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, Angela, going into the final 4, what was your plan? Did you know that you were a target at that point?
Yeah. I really did, very superficially. So the night that we merged, at the very last night that we spent, it was freezing cold. And Damien had, for an outdoorsman, he had like the crappiest sleeping bag. It was like paper thin. He didn't even have a jacket. It was like some cloth thin fabric. So he was like talking about how freezing he was the night before. And I had like this ridiculous sleeping bag that I was like sweating in, and it was like so hot. And I also had this enormous camo jacket, and I was like, Damien, why don't you just take my jacket? Like, I don't need it. And he was so thankful. And he's like, I'm never writing your name down. I don't care. I'll sacrifice. Like, he said all the things. And I took it with a grain of salt. But I also felt like I had tried so hard the last several votes to really downplay the Pink story. One, I knew that's why Katie went home, is because she played the Pink had it so hard. We had such a tough road. And so my goal was to downplay that for everybody. Like, it wasn't that bad. It was awful. But I didn't want that to be part of my story. So I tried really hard to sell to Justin that, like, I'm not going to win. There's no Pink people on the jury anyway. It's green and blue. I don't stand a chance. I don't even know those people. I didn't really know Caitlin. I did know Sierra, but not as well as other people had. I don't have a chance against you. And I had tried to do that for a really long time. And I knew that it was going to come down between me and Damien. Albie had won. And so I knew it rested in Justin's hands. So I didn't really know. So when we speed dated, Justin and Albie got together and Damien and I got together. And Damien and I were just like, and I was like, well, it's me or you. And he was like, yeah. He's like, just so you know, I'm going to write your name down. And I was like, all right, that's fair. I guess I'll write yours down. And Albie and Justin walked over, and Albie just looked at me and didn't say anything. And I was like, can I talk to you? Can I say something? And him and Justin were like, nah. And I was like, can I talk to you guys privately? Like, can we have a conversation? Can you listen to me? And they were like, no. Yeah, no, we're not going to bring you to the end. You're going to win. And I was like, guys, I'm not going to win. Like, I don't think I have one jury vote over there other than Waylon. Like, Waylon might vote for me, but nobody else is going to. Like, they're green people. And Justin, you've played so hard. I haven't played anything. Like, I was trying so hard, but they didn't care. They were not listening to me. And then we walked into tribal, and I kind of felt like an idiot because Cameron's like, so they tell you that they're voting for you. Did you bring up arguments? And I was just like, no. He was like, you didn't argue? And I was like, no. He was like, well, that's friggin' disappointing. But they didn't give me the chance. They didn't care. And they were very nice about it. I was like, well, if you're going to go out, at least, I guess, no bullshit. They looked me in the eye. They all gave me a hug. And I was like, well, that's it, I guess.
Now, I know you had your connection to Damien. So I guess when I was looking at the strategizing happening during Final Four and I saw Albie and Justin and you and Damien, I assumed it was going to be a tie. I thought you and Damien would vote together for Justin, and that the other two would vote for you, probably you. We had fire making ready. We had the podiums over there. We were ready for that tiebreaker.
Can you, Damien?
Why? Yeah. So like, if you knew it was you or Damien, why didn't you consider tying it on Justin?
I don't know if you've met Damien. This is how the conversation goes. Yeah, I'm gonna vote you. Okay. There's no conversation. Like, there's no game talk. There's no strategy. There is no. He's like, this is what I'm doing, or sometimes you'd go walk up to him and he'd be like, I'm not gonna tell you who I'm voting for. It's impossible. If you sub Damien with any other person on the planet, that is exactly what I would have done.
Mm-hmm.
But he listened to nothing. Like, and I felt like he liked me. Like, we had a similar friend outside of the game. I gave him my jacket. He actually told me that he probably would have left that night if I didn't give him my jacket.
Oh my God.
He private messaged me after the game was over, and he was like, just so you know, I probably would have left that night because I was so cold and so miserable. And I was like, Angela,
Thanks.
being nice.
You shouldn't have given it to him.
There was zero way that man was going to listen to anything that I said.
Okay. Now Justin wanted to know, had you won Final Four immunity, who would you have targeted?
Oh, Albie.
Okay. I figured. Albie wanted to know from both of you. So if immunities panned out differently at the end, Albie didn't win the last three. How would you wanted the game to pan out? So who would have you both wanted in the final three with you? Say we're at final six, because that's when Albie started winning immunities. So of the final six, who would you have wanted in the final three with you?
I still think, I don't know if I wouldn't want Angela there. Sorry, Angela.
Same.
But I don't think, I wouldn't want Albie there either. Although I don't know. I think Albie would have won at the end if I was sitting next to him. And Chris, everyone was telling me that he was going to beat everybody. He was so likable. Like, Chris was great. And so I think, honestly, the way it panned out with Justin and Damien, I think those were the two best people that I would have wanted to sit next to, just in lieu of Albie. What about you, Angela?
Hands down. I would have picked Justin and Damien. That's who I wanted. Which I was like so friggin' close. If Albie had just not I would have had a really good shot if Albie hadn't won that, I think.
Was the last challenge close, or was it
No.
clear?
It was a blowout. There was not even.
It was not even close.
So hard.
It was hard. It was harder than I anticipated it being.
So I was this close because that was the final three that I had picked, probably maybe at final like 7 or 8.
Mm-hmm.
Like, those were the people that I wanted to go to the end with.
Okay. So you both made it to the jury. You got a say in who won at the end. You both voted differently. So before we get to why you chose to vote the way you did, when you joined, because from like pre-jury spectator view, everyone was rooting for you too. So when you went to the jury,
I didn't know that. That's sweet.
Oh yeah, you.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. When you got to the jury, what was the vibe when you joined the jury? Was everyone like, oh, damn, we wanted to vote for you? Like, what was it like when you joined?
Well, I mean, I joined first. I feel like everyone was so welcoming. It was nice to get to know some of the people, like, Caitlin, for one. And, I mean, Stephanie it was really cool to talk about the different aspects of the game with people you didn't really get a solid chance to talk to. But like, I felt if it was between, I think they confirmed with me, if it was between me and you, Angela, you would have won out of the two of us, which is fine. But I don't think, even if we were at the end sitting next, at least from what they were telling me, if we were sitting with Albie at the end, it would have been a toss up between the two. I don't think it was a clear winner at the end. Like, it, not that, yeah, but like, I think it was, they were very honest and it was good for feedback. It really was. But good vibes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't get that at all, actually. I had never heard that I would have had a lot of votes or that I would have had a good shot at winning. Um, Watching the interviews that you've done with people, it's been eye-opening for one, but I was really touched by a lot of things to even think that I was remotely in the running because I didn't have that real thought that I was gonna get any votes if I had made it to the end. Um, the vibe when I got out, it was like right before Final Tribal Council. So I think everybody was like really itching. It was surrounding all the questions. We were trying to figure out what our questions were going to be. So I didn't really get a lot of time to like feel the group out. Everybody was, I think at that point, exhausted, starving, like wanting to go home. I had a really good conversation. I think Logan was the first person I talked to as soon as I got voted out. And it was a really good conversation. He was like, I was trying to come for you. You were right. And Barry and I had a really, really good talk as soon as it was over, but it was kind of like scramble to get my question and all that stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So like I said before, you both voted differently. So Waylon, ultimately, what made you vote for Albie to win?
I went into that. I'm pretty decisive. I don't know. I'm pretty decisive on my. Just when I vote at the end, I have an idea of pretty much what I'm going to go into to vote for. And so when I asked everybody each like individual questions, I wanted to set them up for success. Like I asked Damien what was one thing he learned out here, and he could have toted his social game, like the development of his social game, and he says, "I learned that these competitions exist." Like, interesting. Justin's answer blew my mind, and I thought that almost solidified him.
Oh God, I was like, "What are you doing?"
And I really wish I would have followed up with it, but like I asked him if he would consider himself a villain, because I think everybody else did. He says, "Nah, I vanquished all the villains. I took all the villains. They're all sitting over there about to vote for me." It's like I should have said, "Well, do you consider yourself a hero then? Like, what was your redemption arc?" Is what my follow up to his was. But Albie, I almost expect. I asked him a question and said, "Well, what would you do differently if you had to do this all over again?" And I respect it, because I think the easy answer when you're in that position like that is like, I would do nothing different. I'm here. I made it here. I would do nothing different. And he was very honest, very, very like, I would play more cutthroat, I think is what he said. And I was like, interesting. Like that. I thought it showed the confidence in his current game, but it showed that he was an evolving player that would, depending on the circumstances and what circumstances would arise, he would change his gameplay according to. And I think he did throughout this game. And so that really solidified my vote in Albie, even though I was going into that thinking I was going to go that way anyways.
Okay. And then Angela, you voted Justin. So what was your reasoning for voting Justin to win?
So the reason I voted for Justin, my question I asked different questions to all of them, kind of with the same intention that Waylon did. Shocker.
Mm-hmm.
But I did kind of want to steer people in a certain direction. I also had a hunch that I was probably going to vote for Justin, but I was willing to listen to what they all said. My question for Albie was pretty much because he was like taking credit for everything. Like the sky was blue, and it was because Albie said it was blue. And so I was like, I specifically asked him, how much of you being here is luck? Because it seems like you're taking credit for all the things. And he gave a very honest answer. He said a lot of it was luck. And that was a really good answer. So when I actually voted, and I said this when I voted for Justin, Damien just had made so many comments about not caring about this really at all. And that there was no way I was going to vote for somebody, because as cheesy as it sounds, this experience was so important to me for a number of reasons, and I took a lot out of it. There's no way I was going to vote for somebody that it just didn't mean anything for. Albie, I felt like Albie came in everybody's friend. He kind of stayed everybody's friend. He was really happy. I didn't really see him putting himself in super compromising positions. He won He won immunity challenges, but he didn't really fight for anything. He didn't target people. He didn't throw names out like as much as Justin did. And Justin came in with a huge target on his back. Everybody was talking about Justin day one.
Mhm.
He'd played before. He was loud. He didn't hide himself at all. And he still made it to the end. Like, to me, like, he worked his ass off and he made it to the end. Albie came in, coasted up. I mean, he was definitely strategic and made really good choices, but I felt like he didn't ruffle any feathers. He didn't put himself out there. And Justin put himself out there every second of that game. So that's why I would.
Can I ask you a question, Angela? If you replace Albie with Chris at the final 3, does your vote change from Justin?
No.
Me? I think I would vote Justin at that point.
You do?
I do believe. I think at that point I vote Justin over Chris. Everyone hyped up Chris's game because of Green, and he had a great story and everything, but I didn't think he was in control at all during the merge.
No.
And I think Justin made some calls, and I think if it was Justin, Chris, and I don't know if he would have won, but I think I would have voted for Justin if it wasn't Albie.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I like it.
Okay. So real quick, it doesn't need to be a long answer. You two were the top 2 fan favorite
That's in the poll.
In the
She's
poll.
So happy.
So like Angela, you won I think by like 5 votes. Like it was so close between the two of you.
Ooh, seriously.
Yeah. So honestly, like between the two of you, like how did it feel after the game? How did it feel knowing that you were the most popular, I guess, in the cast?
Well, as the second most popular, it's very rightfully so. Angela deserved to be the most popular. I did not know that most popular got an idol. Didn't know at all. Never would have considered. Never thought. When Angela pulled out her idol, I was like, girl. I was like, yeah. I think I was like, all right. During the thing, I think I turned to you and said something. Never did I think you were going to play that on me. As soon as you started moving, I was like, geez. No, because I was just surprised, that it was there. But I was very honored because I thought I was going to have Rafe watching me. And that was it. I thought I was going to have my little brother supporting me, and that was it. And so I think it helps coming. People love an underdog story. And we started off at Pink. And I think that helped for both of us. Not you. I think you were going to be most popular regardless. But, like, I think that helped me, I guess. But it was very endearing, and it meant a lot.
Cool.
Well, I mean, my reaction when I got it, I was an idiot. Like I was very blubbering. It was very surprising, and I have a lot of really good friends. But still, like I said, I was coming in and I didn't even know that other games existed. I didn't know other people had played before. So I was like, once I found that out, I was like, oh, I don't stand a chance for anything. So I was just beyond honored. Like, it was very, very unexpected. I never would have thought that I would have won that.
It's actually funny because, like, I mean, when you were the top 2, I was like, yes. But we were strategizing. Production was strategizing because you all were eating after the auction. You were just sitting in a circle. And we were sitting in a circle, like, on the other side of the field. And we were like, who's going to give the idol during these confessionals? Who are they going to not expect to get the idol during these confessionals? And we were like trying to figure out in this circle, and we saw some people looking over at us, and we were like, shit, they know that's what we're talking about. And we were paranoid about it. We were literally,
nobody ever talked about it. Ever.
Really?
There was no conversation about the fan favorite anything. I think it came up once and they were like, oh yeah, wasn't there supposed to be something? I was like, oh, it probably got messed up. I don't know. There was no talk about it. And I don't know if it's because people were so preoccupied with the game that it was like,
right.
Nobody talked about it.
Well, we literally, so it wasn't supposed to be Robbie. I know I wasn't going to do it. It wasn't going to be someone that I talked to. And it was originally supposed to be someone else. And I was in the circle and I was pointing. And I had pointed to the person who was going to give the idol. I can't remember who it was going to be. but someone in the game was looking over at us. So I was like, fuck, we got to change it. So we literally changed who was going to give it because I saw someone see me point. Like, we were so paranoid about that. Because we didn't want anyone, obviously, to find out who.
Right. I thought it was weird because Alicia was there. And one, I wouldn't have wanted to get it from anybody other than Robbie because I am a huge Robbie fan.
Me too.
I love him
best.
so much. He was the best. But Alicia was just sitting there like this the whole time. And I was like, she's happy that I'm confessing things. So I thought that was weird, but I didn't see that coming at all. I don't think anybody did.
Yeah. So real quick, it was a charity event. So what charity were you playing for? And why did you choose it and all that stuff? Go give like a shout out to your charities.
All right. I played for the Ashland County Cancer Association. We it's September's Child Pediatric Cancer Awareness Month, so I have my shirt on. I work for the Ashland County Cancer Association. We provide financial, nutritional, emotional, spiritual, and transportation support to and from cancer-related appointments. The Ashland County Cancer Association is not a national organization. It's not affiliated with a national organization. It helps out patients locally in the Ashland County community. And when it's very, I'm just going to do a special shout out for childhood cancer because you have to put on a mask almost working there every day, coming in, people telling you bad news, signing up, or, people not or signing off because of other things. And it's always an emotional time. And it took a little bit of adjusting. When children walk in, that's a very different story. And I have a little, I call it my therapy fish that sits at my desk. And I every time the kids come in, they like to walk over and see my fish. His name's TJ. And there's this little girl, and I'm not going to name names, but like I bought a snail to put in, and she named the snail Roper. Which is TJ's pet. And childhood cancer is unfair. It sucks. And it costs parents, for one child that's diagnosed with cancer, an average of $850,000 to keep those treatments up and running. Average diagnosis for childhood cancer is 6 years old. 1 in 4 elementary schools have a child in there with cancer. It sucks. It's not fair. So we help out a lot of kids, and that makes my job worthwhile.
Awesome.
How do you not love him? Like,
right?
He's just perfect. You just need to go on The Bachelorette, and it's all gonna be good.
I'll do a CYS Bachelor, and you can be the Bachelor. Yeah,
he's it. So I played for the American Brain Tumor Association. When I found out that it was a charity event, I as well would have wanted it to be a local charity. But my best friend was diagnosed and died of brain cancer. And it was almost a year to the day of the last day of the challenge, which is why emotionally I was so invested. It was like therapy for some reason. Some of the conversations that I had with people out there touched me more than conversations I've probably had with friends here because they didn't know me out there. Alex and Katie and Waylon, they didn't know who I was going in, and they heard me talk about Samantha and her story and how much it leveled me. It absolutely devastated me. And to be out there and be able to talk about it a little bit with people that didn't know her and didn't really know me, it helped me so much. And I'll never forget it. And so it was very important to me. And I am so happy that I got to raise that much money. And thank you, Brandon, for giving me the opportunity because I don't know what I would have done if I didn't have this.
Well, thank you. I mean, you raised so much money for this event. So, like, it was amazing, and I'm so glad both of you were part of this.
You did a commendable job.
experience.
You really did.
It was amazing.
You put it together, and it was like perfect. I can't imagine it being better. Yeah, we went through crap a couple times, but like it was perfect. But you also assembled a team that supported you valiantly. Robbie, Alicia, Cam, Elaine, and I'm probably forgetting more people, but your team, your support system was on point, and I can't commend you and them enough.
Oh yeah, they were. All the pieces fit into place. They were perfect. They were there for me when I needed them. Like it was. It really. I couldn't have asked for better people to be there to help and better people to participate. It was just everything that I hoped for when I started playing. So it was so fun. So real quick, I do have rapid fire questions. I didn't forget about it. So I mean, I can ask who your best ally was, but like,
Obviously.
yeah, each other. So we'll skip that one. Who is someone who you wish you could have either met in the game who you didn't meet or worked with more in the game?
Caitlin. I think the way she went, it was sucky, but like I was looking forward to trying to work with her. One, I was the youngest person in the game, I didn't know, but Caitlin and I she's just a few months older than me. And so I was like, oh, we can vibe. We can be like on like a young level. We'll be the cool kids. Never got the chance to do so. And so that was someone I wanted to work with.
Okay.
I wanted to play with Barry more. I just didn't get a chance. I would have picked him.
Okay. What was your favorite challenge that you got to participate in?
I like the one where we rolled the ball and then it came down. Like I've always seen that on Survivor, at least a variation of it, and I always wanted to play it and like test hand-eye coordination. I thought that was really good, and the board was like all the challenges were great and they were really well assembled and professional. But that one I really enjoyed. I had fun playing.
Cool.
Sandbag challenge was my favorite.
All right.
Really? The one holding you up.
Really?
Yeah, I dry heaved when it was over in the woods.
You're
for
right.
Like 10 minutes.
You're right. You gave
I was like, I was getting like a wash of sweat. I hadn't eaten. I was like, I'm digging this, but I'm gonna go throw up for a minute. It's gonna be fine.
That was great. I
my
remember.
favorite.
Yeah.
All right. What was your favorite behind the scenes moment? So not challenges and not tribal council.
When we were picking up dollar bills with our vaginas at.
Wait, it clicked. I remember what that means. Okay.
That was my favorite part.
Oh goddamn! It doesn't get better than that. Like,
No.
it's gotta be the picking up dollar bills with your vagina. It's gotta be that. That's a long story. Sorry, Mom.
I remember. And then would you play again?
I would have to be persuaded. Maybe.
All right.
Yesterday, I would play yesterday.
Okay. Cool. I like that answer better. Sorry, Waylon.
That's okay.
So bad. I want to play again so bad.
I'm good at persuading, so we'll talk someday.
Talk to you, Waylon.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm retired, but I'm on. What's it called?
I will say it is like I haven't played since I won, and it's very hard. And I haven't really had the inkling to want to play again. It's when you do really well. If you go in a second time, it's like I can only do worse, right?
Right.
So like I feel like that might be a similar mindset. Is like I did so well, and it was such a cool experience. Like why would I want to ruin that by playing again?
But you're not gonna ruin it. You're not gonna ruin it.
You know where I've been before this game. And I thought I was going to be done then. And then it enticed me to play further.
Right.
Because I thought there's only one place you can get farther than where you've been before. And it just, I'm not satisfied, but I'm not. I have to be, I want to play again. Maybe.
Cool. Well, we'll be in touch. Because I will do All-Stars eventually. So last question real quick. What advice would you give to people who want to play next year?
I think, don't so much about this game is putting up a front, portraying yourself as something maybe you're not, but don't forget to be yourself. Don't be afraid to be genuinely you, because if you're putting up too much of a front, or if you're playing too hard, or if you're doing stuff like, I think it comes off as disingenuous and fake, and I think you'll do worse. If you can be yourself and be genuine, be real with people, even if you have to make tough decisions, they'll more than likely understand.
I really hate to piggyback, and again, I think this is why Waylon and I get along so well, but I had thought about this question before because there's so many things, right? You have a laundry list of advice, but in all honesty, it's to be yourself, because I feel like if I hadn't, that first night at camp, I unleashed a whole bunch of things that had happened that had kind of brought me on this downward spiral a little bit, to my team. And had I not opened up and shared certain stories and experiences and talked about my friend and the other things that I had been through, and kind of the fact that I have no self-esteem at all, especially physically, and I gained all kinds of weight and why that happened, I don't think I would have made it as far. I think those moments where you're sharing parts of your own soul to other people, they identify with it. It's very easy to tell when people are being genuine and when they're not. And you want to cling to the people that are being genuine. So that's what I would say.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for playing in the event. Thank you for being here tonight to talk about your experiences. It was really fun to chat with you both again. Everyone that's listening, if you're still listening, make sure to follow Live Reality Games on YouTube and Facebook. They have a bunch of they have a lot of coverage of a lot of different games that happen around the country. So you can follow them for info on all those games if you want to apply in the future. Make sure you follow Can You Survive on Facebook, because we will be doing a second season next year. It'll be happening in June. It's June 22nd through 26th. So it'll be 5 days instead of 4. We're adding another day. Same location. You might even get to stay at Pink Camp. Applications will come out. Applications will open on November 1st. So yeah, follow us on Facebook and apply if you are interested. And with that, I will sign off. Make sure to tune in tomorrow at 8, and we will be interviewing the winner of the season, Aldi.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye, everyone.